welcome to our pre-match press conference to preview our cup tie with Bournemouth. We'll start off with Vinny from Sky.
David, ultimately, how satisfactory was the end to the transfer window for you?
It could have been much better, but I think everybody who's connected with Everton are pretty much aware of our situation. But no, we're feeling much better. We think that in the future there's a greater chance where we'll be able to be more competitive in the transfer market. Would have liked to have done a bit more if we could have, but either prices or availability, etc., all those things played its part, which it probably did for a lot of clubs as well.
Carlos Alcaraz, you did get in though. How ready is he to go straight into things against Bournemouth if needed?
Yeah, I think he's ready to play. I think he looks match fit. I think the biggest thing is just getting him used to the group of players and just coming in and not putting him under too much pressure. But he's got Premier League experience, so the speed of the game and what's expected here shouldn't shock him too much. I think it's more just us getting him adapted and settled into us, really.
When he does, what do you think he'll bring for you?
Well, if you've seen him play, his energy will always be something which he's known for. I think his youthfulness at the moment is still important. It's a young player. I think it will give him an opportunity to see if he can step up to this level again, and we'll get him the chance to do so in the coming weeks and games we've got now. Yeah, I'm quite pleased to get him because it just gives us a chance to have a look at him and see how it goes. It's not something which it has to be guaranteed at the moment, but if he hits the criteria, then obviously we'd be in a situation where we would bring him to the club.
Just thinking of things you've got to weigh up when it comes to team selection, given the momentum that you've picked up, how much of a temptation is it to go same again, but at the same time as well, how much of an importance is there to rest players with the Merseyside derby to come midweek?
I think every manager probably gets sort of nearly similar questions, Vinny, because of what becomes more important. Let's be fair and not kid MD on. We here at Everton, the biggest important for us is to be a Premier League club. That is important. But every Everton supporter wants another trip to Wembley and hopefully a chance to win a trophy. So we have to give the supporters that as well, like most managers do at any club. But for our position in the league would always be the overriding thing, which we have to make sure that we retain our Premiership status.
The fact that you've opened up a 9-point gap, though, does that make that kind of weigh it up a little bit more difficult, a little bit more tempting?
I've actually heard a lot of people sort of sitting back and thinking that this is a lot easier than it looks, but I'm not. I'm seeing it as we're nowhere near get the job done yet. We've got a lot of games to play. We have to really focus and keep continuing to pick up points. We've had a great little run at the moment. We've got to try and keep it going as long as we can.
It does feel like a big turnaround, though, in a very short space of time. How does it feel to you?
It feels great that we've won 3 games. It really does, and I can sense it in the building. I can sense it in the training with the players. Gaining confidence, a lot more self-belief. But here's the buts coming. But the buts are we've got to keep it going. We've got a long way to go. We're a long way off being the team I would hope we would have in the future. But at the moment, we've got to make sure that the team we've got just now gives us everything, continues to do as well as it's done in recent weeks.
What's the biggest change, though, that you feel that you've made yourself?
I don't feel as if it would be me personally that's made the change. I think the players change in how they've probably perceived themselves a wee bit now. A lot of them are really good players, they're talented footballers, and I think they've shown it. I think the recent games they've played really well in the games. They've passed it well. They've controlled games at times. They've been resilient when they've needed to do so. And probably one of the questions you were asking a lot about was how many chances, who's going to score the goals. Quickly in the games we've started to look as if we're a bit more lethal, look as if we're going to score, created a few more chances. So all those things I think the players have to get the credits for because they're the ones who are putting themselves in a position to win the games now.
Ahead of this game against Bournemouth, I'm guessing you probably look back at the 2 league games that Everton have faced this season, which obviously you weren't a part of. I just wonder what you've been able to learn from seeing those games, and on top of that as well, is there a sense among the players that they want to put things right from what's happening, particularly that game at Goodison Park?
Well, I think the first thing that everybody's learned is that Bournemouth and their manager are doing a brilliant job. I think their team have played so well this season, and to be fair, parts of last season as well, they were beginning to show signs when I was playing against them a year or so ago. But Look, we've got to hope that we can get a result. Looks like the two games this season has not gone our way, so let's see if we can try and do it in the cup. It's a tough game. Bournemouth are playing really well. Great side at the moment. Good energy. Doing a lot of good things. So we have to try and improve our game and see if we can get a good win.
Good luck.
Thanks, Vinny. We'll go to Julia.
The desire to get a trophy here at the club, is quite obvious. It's something the fans really want. The closest was when you were here previously. Do you still feel that around the club? That's something that everybody wants, is to get a trophy here at Everton.
Yeah. Well, every club I've been to, everybody says the same about it. Everybody wants a trophy. There's certain clubs in this country who are, serial winners, and it's very hard to overtake them in some cases. But we were talking about it, me and Andy here, before we come in, and was thinking, we had a semi-final against Liverpool, which we lost. We had a final against Chelsea. What ideally I want is to have an Everton team which is getting to semi-finals and finals and trying to be more competitive. With a quarter-final, I think, of in Europe here as well. So we had a little bit of a run, maybe not good enough, but I think you've got to first of all start trying to take those steps which get you closer to it. So what we need to do is try and beat Bournemouth to try and get a step closer in this round if we can, in this year's competition, and see where it goes. But look, every club wants to win a trophy. I've learnt that over recent years.
You mentioned there about the chances being created now and the goals seem to be coming. The possession stats that when Everton have played, particularly this season, have always been below 50% and in some cases quite low in the 20s. And, you've been in the 30s or 47 against Leicester. I'm just wondering, in a cup game, is possession something you're concerned about in order to get a result, or does it not matter as long as you're getting the other stats?
Yeah, look, possession was always seen as relatively important. I think if you look at even the teams, and I worked quite a bit for UEFA during the summer, and possession wasn't the main thing that got teams results. It's beginning to go away a little bit from that. Ultimately, you'd rather have the ball than not have the ball. You'd rather pass it more and than give it away. But I think we've passed it really well in the games. I think we've improved on it, as you rightly said, and thank you for that. Our numbers have got better. But again, I've said many times, we're not going to change things completely. And I think the players, what they've done, they've adapted to, being a bit better with the ball if we can, trying to control it a bit better. But in saying that, how are we going to make more chances, which you'd mentioned there, and how are we going to score more goals? And we've just started to show that we've done that a bit better. Let's hope we can keep improving. And yeah, if I can get the possession up better, but ultimately the only thing I want to do is win. And if that means higher possession, great. If it doesn't, then I'm not that bothered.
Jake O'Brien is helping with some of that passing and some of those stats. He's had his role changed to this right-back position. How are you judging how quickly he's picking this up and how well he's contributing to the side?
Well, I can only make reference to what I know, and sometimes when you're a young centre-back, and I think young centre-backs quite often get into the team as full-backs. That's how you break in, because you might not quite have the physicality or the experience, and quite often I was a young player and I had to do that route myself, and many do. I think at the moment Jake will go on to be a centre-back in time. I think he's doing a good job. He's got attributes which fill that position. I think it was a role where we've had a few injuries there, and we're chopping and changing how we're going to get it. We also think that Jake's a little bit more competent on the ball as well at times, and has given us that a little bit more composure. So we're hoping that we can use him there, but ultimately I'm sure his future will be as more of an out-and-out central defender. But I think for him to get the games at the moment has been really important.
And Harrison Armstrong went out on loan after signing a long-term deal as well. Do you see him as the future of Everton, and how much, how important is it, that loan spell, to get him those regular games?
Well, look, when I was here before, we used to bring in so many young boys, and I don't even know where I would start, what ones would top. But not all of them went on to have the top careers, but a lot of them went on to have great careers and still are just now, boys in their 30s now who've had long careers at other clubs. Part of the job at a football club is to develop players and make them into footballers. You might not always get them to be playing in your first team. But I remember Ozzy went out and loaned to Derby County, Carlisle and Derby County. Harrison's now gone to Derby County. Lane Osmond came back from Derby ready to go into the first team. He'd been a talented young player. I remember watching him in the games when he played up front quite often at that time. And he ended up having to find positions wide before he could get roles in midfield, and he went on to be a great player, Leon Osmond, for us here. I hope Harrison is on a similar journey and goes on to become a great player for us. It's just the start for him, and if we can hope that he gets the best part of 10, 12 games, then hopefully by the summer we'll see how he's looking then.
Finally, from me, just a word on the fans. I know they've done a lot of displays in the last couple of games at Goodison since you've returned, and there's an FA Cup display being planned by the 1878. So just wondered what your reaction to that is in sort of making Goodison that fortress again.
Well, I mentioned last week that I hope we've got more games at Goodison because we've got more FA Cup ties, but we've probably only got, 8 or 9 games left at Goodison forever. So, quite rightly so, they should enjoy it, embrace it, keep celebrating it. Support the way they supported last week was incredible support. You got the feeling that the supporters and the players were beginning to get a connection back together, which for a couple of hours, we said the People's Club. So to be part of that, then you need the players and the supporters all to be working together. Let's hope they can do it to the end of the season.
Thanks, Julia. We'll go to Carl at the Press Association.
I can't.
Hi, David. Because of what you said about the importance of Premier League status, and because it's a one-off game, does it offer you, probably more importantly, the players, a little bit more freedom?
More freedom.
I mean, less pressure.
Less pressure. I think they're all. I'm thinking about it only because I'm saying, undoubtedly, I've sort of said we would always I think you're always judged maybe more on your how you do over a season. So we play 38 games. We play 38 games. So to be judged over the season is probably a bigger thing than to be maybe a cup winning team. But the cup in this country is so vital to everybody that, winning trophies is something which everybody wants to do. I think that you're right in some ways. I think that sometimes these games give you the feeling that it's not got the same pressure, and maybe gives you the feeling of having a bit more freedom because you feel that way. So I think what your question is a good one, and I think both those answers are probably yes in some ways. Sorry, that took me a while to get to that. Okay. Yeah.
Any further questions in the open section before we move on? No? Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers, David.
Thank you.
Fiorentina, Goodison was ridiculous that night.
Yeah.
Remember it?
Oh, Fiorentina was unbelievable. Unbelievable that night. Yeah. It's been